I'm already late. Late for what? I'm going on an adventure.
The rolling green glades of the Shire, the towering white spires of Minas Tirith, the jagged sharp slopes of Mount Doom. Welcome to the lands of Middle-earth, home to dragons, orcs, enormous spiders, and giant eagles. Middle-earth is the setting for the J.R.R. Tolkien landmark series The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. A land of fantasy and magic, this world is replete with grand vistas both above and below the surface, and ancient, amazing cities thousands of years old. Its historical figures are both famous, such as the wizard Gandalf, ring-bearers Bilbo and Frodo Baggins, and the King of Gondor himself, Aragorn, and infamous, such as the Dark Lord Sauron. If you're looking for adventure in all its forms, this magical land is the place to go. Pros: Middle-earth has something for everyone to enjoy. The relaxation of a peaceful getaway is readily available in towns like Hobbiton, or you can hop on down to the village of Bree for some more down-to-earth local culture. Horseback riding is readily available on the plains of Rohan. The Misty Mountains are ready to be scaled if you're more of a thrill seeker, and for those of you seeking a deeper challenge, the mines of Moria are a spelunker's dream. And for the truly daring, you can test your survival skills farther east over the rocky crags of Mordor. While there is a lot that will be familiar to modern-day travelers setting foot here, there is a uniqueness to the people and the beasts of Middle-earth that you won't find on present-day Earth. You can hobnob with stout dwarves and lofty elves, share a drink with a diminutive hobbit, or strike up a conversation with a bark-skinned ent. You can pull out your camera and grab a snapshot of a terrifying dragon, though we would recommend a telephoto lens, or even gaze in wonder as mountain-sized stone giants duke it out. Cons: As a fantasy-rated world, Middle-earth has no modern science and few conveniences a modern person would otherwise take for granted. The level of technology is comparable to Earth's Middle Ages, so be ready to rough it even in the largest of cities. Unless you brought your own means of getting around, you're going to be traveling either by foot or horseback between destinations. If you get injured while out, don't expect a lot of help even if you're in a town or village. And if someone does come to help, don't expect the most sterile operating table. When traveling outside of fortified locations, the wilderness can be extremely dangerous. Wild animals such as wargs and fell beasts roam the land and skies, but those are nothing compared to the humanoid threats that travel about. Highwaymen abound, while goblins, orcs, trolls, and ogres are all ready to swarm upon unsuspecting travelers to make them slaves or meals. Even when traveling to supposedly safe harbors, the locals may still stare at you with a suspicious eye, especially if you don't hide your nature as a time and space tourist. Unless you don't care about people giving you a lot of distance or plotting to kill you in your sleep, you may want to put away the iPhone for now. Getting around. After that short introduction of what you're going to be greeted with in the world of Middle-earth, here are some pointers for your trip. The necessities of survival. Being a medieval-level land, you're going to want a standard hiking pack geared for long-distance travel. This should include water purification tablets, fire-making tools, and more. I cover some of these in a separate video, What to Bring Along. Languages. This will be a challenge to overcome for many visitors. Appearance is deceiving, the world of Middle-earth did not speak English. They spoke a pidgin language, mixing the words of men and elves, known as Common. While greetings such as May Gavanen, well met, are well known, you'll otherwise have to find language resources from other time-space travelers. There are pre-existing guides to Elvish languages of Sindarin and Quenya, but most Middle-earthers view those languages like English speakers view Latin. The words of gods and kings. Your best bet is to hire a translator who can also speak English. Currency. The greatest city of men, Gondor, uses a silver coin called a Castar as currency, with a smaller version called a Tharni being worth a quarter of that. Barring getting your hands on these, gold and silver are viable alternatives, regardless of how they've been stamped, as are precious stones. Note that a standard bar of gold in the US weighs 28 pounds and is worth about $630,000, so you may want to budget just how much you're able to bring along. Word of advice, if you've got it, don't flaunt it unless you want to invite bandits to your next camping stop. Travel. The methods of getting around Middle-earth are pretty limited. You're either going to be walking on foot or riding on horseback. The speediest alternative method would be riding a giant eagle or hitching a ride on a fell beast with an undead Nazgul, neither of which are available to the average tourist. It's estimated that the journey of Frodo Baggins from Hobbiton to Mordor covered 1,700 miles, so if you plan on traveling between these spots and aren't able to bring an off-road SUV or a motorcycle with plenty of gas on your trip, plan your supplies and journey accordingly. An off-road bicycle is also an option, though again you may expect to draw attention for using such a technologically advanced item, but at least you won't need gas. Customs. There aren't specific customs that you'll need to be concerned with. If you meet others, you start with a simple bow and move forward from there. Different cultures will have different protocols for openness and wariness of strangers. For instance, hobbits, while careful around those they do not know, will still greet visitors with kindness and generosity. Clothing and blending in. This is a world unaccustomed to time travelers, so your safest bet is to adjust your clothing to blend in. Avoid loud colors and printed designs. The outfits of Middle-earth are simple and hand-stitched. Cloaks are common to this world, so you can cover up quite a bit with a nice wool cloak or cape. To draw less attention to yourself, you can also distress any modern clothing items you're wearing, such as hiking boots, to blend in. Long hair and beards are common on men, and women typically wear dresses. If you are wearing a modern item such as a watch and someone notes it, you can pass it off as a piece of elvish jewelry, though be aware that this may draw unwanted attention from thieves. Dangers. As mentioned before, threats abound in these wild, untamed lands. In the more civilized areas, such as Minas Tirith, you won't have as much to worry about in the way of terrible beasts or even typical wild animals such as wolves and bears, as long as you stick to the main roads. Straying too far from these relatively safe zones, however, invites attack from bandits, orcs, or worse. Stray even further, and you risk bumping into nightmares even the grave couldn't contain. You've been warned. So, enough doom and gloom. Let's go on an adventure! Welcome to the lands of Middle-earth. Depending on where you first set foot in Middle-earth, you will either find peace, adventure, or sheer terror. This world is as varied as our own, meaning no matter where your first stop is, you can be sure to find it a thrilling one. Culture and civilization. Known as the City of Men, Minas Tirith is a crown jewel in the land of Gondor. If you visit following the War of the Ring, you can enjoy the safety and prosperity following the reign of King Aragorn, and fully immerse yourself in the culture and history of this famed city. If you arrive prior to this, however, beware roaming about lest you get caught up in the battle between mankind and the dark armies of Mordor. Visit the historical battlefield of Pelennor, experience the famous battle site of the War of the Ring, where the armies of Gondor, the Orthanc, Mordor, and Rohan clashed. Treasure seekers can bring metal detectors for their own quest for weapons, armor, and jewelry lost in the layers of history. Extreme hikers can explore all 7 rings and gates of the impressive city of Minas Tirith. For the less athletic, horses and palanquins are available. Each tier of the city offers restaurants, cafes, and the odd rat catcher shop. Minas Tirith is famous for its many cemeteries, tombs, and historical hotspots. For those interested in haunted tours, those in the know can direct you to the site of Denethor's Pile, a truly spiritual experience, said to be haunted by the last steward himself. Did Denethor die on the pyre, or did he run a kilometer and jump off of the 7th tier of Minas Tirith? You decide! Do you love museums? You're in luck! From the more scholarly libraries of Gondor to the Armory Museum, there's something for everyone. Not too far from the city itself lie the ruins of Osgiliath and the gates of Mordor.
One does not simply walk into Mordor.
Even following the War of the Ring, though shattered, the remnants of the gates still serve as a barrier to terrible creatures native to Mordor. Proceed at your peril. Minas Tirith is a very safe city. There are no problems with theft or violence. All sections are heavily patrolled. However, it is a physically taxing city to tour by foot. Make sure to plan your transportation options in advance. The wilds of nature. Rohan is an expansive human-populated territory west, covered in vast grasslands and bordered by thick forests. It has been described as a sea of grass, and is dotted with villages and towns, with the capital of Edoras serving as its center of government and the fortress of Helm's Deep serving as its last line of defense in times of war. Rohan is a sporting person's paradise. Hunting seasons lure lovers of fishing, deer hunting, and even horseback riding. Even if you're a beginner, Rohirrim masters of the arrow, spear, fishing rod, and horse are available to guide you through the traditional pursuits of Rohan. Horse lovers, here is your dream vacation. Rohan breeds the magnificent champions of speed, temper, and even loyalty. Daily excursions across the plains of Rohan on horseback can be found with plenty of knowledgeable guides. For the brave at heart, ride and camp like the Rohirrim of old. Tour historical Edoras and marvel at the Golden Hall of Meduseld. Amazing vistas of the valley and mountains surround this stunning landmark. Unless you're highly experienced in long-distance hiking and can navigate with a compass, independent exploration is highly discouraged. It is easy to get lost in the miles and miles of fields in Rohan, and water can be scarce. Lost explorers often wander too close to the edges of the dreaded Forest of Fangorn, a woodland populated by creatures big and small, where they say the trees themselves walk and despise interlopers. Always make sure to stay with your guides. History and beauty. Rivendell, home to the beautiful immortal elves, a beautiful city nestled between the Trollshaws and the Misty Mountains on the eastern edge of Eriador, has existed in perfect harmony with nature for millennia. Rivendell is famous for its beautiful rivers and waterfalls, and offers visitors the best in hospitality, comfort, and architectural beauty. While there, kayak down rapids, or brunch on balconies that overlook the valley and its many rivers. Spend a day exploring Elrond's library, a trove of ancient texts covering tales from across the land. This peaceful location is also rife with fishing opportunities, path riding, and even swimming. It cannot be stressed enough that attempting to cross the Misty Mountains from Rivendell is done at your own risk. Weather and unfriendly natives of the goblin variety are known to ensnare unwary travelers, and rock giant battles can leave devastation on a colossal scale. While the Misty Mountains can present some of the greatest climbing challenges a professional mountain climber can imagine, the risk is considered by many to far outweigh the experience. On the other side of the mountains, LOTR is only available to visitors with special research visas, ecological missions, or preservationists of rare species. All others will be denied access under strict penalties. Peace and quiet. Located far to the west, the verdant hills and dales of the Shire and its neighboring lands can cultivate a sense of peace and comfort without comparison across the whole of Middle-earth. Home to both man and hobbits alike, this destination will truly make your stay a relaxing one. The hobbits of the Shire are welcoming and joyful, and know how to send passers-by on their way with a full belly and a song in their heart. If you're looking for some comfort food cuisine and a hearty ale, you can easily find plentiful spots to stop at in Hobbiton and Mitchell Delving. Note that because of the reclusive nature of hobbits, the borders of the Shire will only allow in a certain number of us big folk. Due to the ancient treaties with elves, they are the only beings who may pass through to the Havens. Known as the ultimate crossroads in western Middle-earth, Bree has impressed visitors for centuries with its diversity of people and languages. All trade in the region, and every souvenir you would want travels through Bree, including those rare hobbit crafts, dwarvish metalwork from the Blue Mountains, and Western Kingdom-style pottery. The friendly atmosphere is reflected in Bree's many pubs and gathering places. In Bree, you will drink beers that are rarely exported from the region and shop in exotic marketplaces. Beware of pickpockets, as well as potential drunk and disorderly conduct during evening hours.
Extreme Adventure!
Two of the most challenging and dangerous locations in Middle-earth, the Mines of Moria and the Lands of Mordor, offer challenges that only the truly daring or the truly stupid would seek out. For those risk junkies looking for the ultimate in extreme adventure, however, there are probably no other stops that can match them. Moria, known by its proper name Khazad-dûm, also known as the Black Pit, was once the greatest city of dwarves until they dug too deep and unleashed the unholy Balrog upon themselves. Mordor was the merciless, violent land of the Dark Lord Sauron, and home to countless orcs and other evil creatures. Spelunking is the order of the day in the maze of caves beneath Moria, some of which haven't been explored in centuries. The depths can extend for miles downward, giving you an experience virtually incomparable anywhere else in your time and space travels. For treasure seekers, the deep caverns remain home to marvels in dwarvish engineering and construction, and still house precious stones, artifacts, and even the legendary metal mithril, which is no longer available in our modern world. Beware that even through the Fourth Age, Khazad-dûm was heavily populated by goblins and orcs, and drawing their attention is to invite almost certain death. Prior to the War of the Ring, Mordor is a devastated hellscape that houses the greatest terrors Middle-earth has ever seen. Trolls, orcs, and monsters galore roam its wastes. Water is almost impossible to find, and the soot and heat from the great volcano Mount Doom saturates the stinking air here. And ever watching the landscape from the land's tallest tower is the Eye of Sauron, who will readily destroy any trespassers it spies. Mordor's only possible appeal is to extreme survivalists who wish to test themselves in the harshest conditions Middle-earth has to offer, to historians studying the Great Battle of Dagorlad, ending the Second Age, and to volcanologists interested in the study of Mount Doom's unusual activity and properties. Needless to say, This is a quadruple black diamond challenge. Souvenirs. With a history both expansive and ancient, finding historical souvenirs may prove easier than you would think. Ruins of old populate the world, and though plucked of most valuables, there is still plenty of architecture to take home should you want a nice addition to your house. As mentioned earlier, the fields of Pelennor still have loads of discarded weapons and gear from the Great Ring War buried below its surface. If you're looking for something in finer condition, look no further than the elves for the most pristine, well-crafted weaponry in the world. Note, however, that these items can be prohibitively expensive. If you plan on trading modern technology for an item, be forewarned that elves are inherently distrustful of machinery and openly disdainful of the creations of mankind, and are just as likely to destroy whatever devices you're offering. For jewelry, look no further than to the homes of the dwarves. Here you can find gemstones and creations that would make the British crown look like a clearance item from Party City. They are no fools though, and will charge you an arm and a leg for even the most meager of items. They will have little need for gold or precious stones, since nothing you have will be able to match their own inventory, so plan on paying in goods, services, or information. Disclaimer: while searching for valuables or trinkets to bring home, it is highly advised to get any rings you find examined by an expert just to be safe. Closing. Whether you're a casual traveler looking to relax or survivalist testing your grit against the greatest heights and depths, Middle-earth is a magical realm that will enchant you and leave you hungry for further visits in the future. It's a place of great beauty and wonderment, where every trip is an adventure. Let's go! Thanks for watching the first episode of this series. We've got lots more places and eras to come. If you enjoyed this trip through Middle-earth, hit that like button. And if you want to be informed when new episodes are ready, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell for notifications. A big thanks to Laura for co-writing this episode and for her knowledge on all things Tolkien. See you folks out there!